We're gonna do another live. Yeah, I just want to share. We're gonna basically share some information. I just want to highlight because I pretty much think a lot of people know, or probably should. I'm assuming understand that the Garden of Eden is not in Africa specifically. I know the concept is that back then the landmass was known as Pangaea, but you know, when Africa was, basically when the Bible, I would say, was put in place, you know, the landmass, to what they're talking about is not in Africa today. It's over there in the Middle East, what they call the Persian Gulf, right? And let me make sure my volume is up. Make sure my volume, okay, my volume is up. All right, so yeah, over by the Persian Gulf. So basically, just want to just let people know that for people who don't know, I'll try to make it a little more easier. So yeah, this is my stations. You guys let me know um, how you like my videos. Subscribe, send a comment. Share a little bit of information. I guess. I don't know if my chat is on. All right, I might not be able to see the comments because I'm using my phone. I don't really know how to do this thing yet. All right, so here we go. So as we said, Genesis 1, we're not going to really focus on the actual creation part of it. We're not going to focus on the actual creation part of it. We're going to mainly focus on, we mainly just focus on where the Eden is located. Okay? Where's darkness? So, in the Bible, I'm trying to find the actual section. I don't remember exactly. Like I said, lived in the earth, in the grass, seeds. I lost it. I had the actual text, but I lost it. All right, so yeah. So, basically we're going to highlight where Eden is after, God created everything. We're not going to flex up. We're not going to focus too much on the creation part about it because that's another conversation. So, they say Eden's supposed to be located in Africa, which was a lot of people saying it's Ethiopia. Some people say it's a little bit down south, like South Africa. Close, it's all between where the like from Egypt going down, right? But based on the Bible description, based on the Bible description, you know, as you can see, Ethiopia is more towards on my left side, or I guess from your right. From if you're watching it, it'll be from your left side, and from where the Bible described Eden to be, is more on the right side, over there by the Persian Gulf, which is just past the Middle East, right? And it show. Let me see if I could get a different video. It shows where hold on. It shows you where the name of the rivers that it pointed out. Now, either way, it's between in the Persian Gulf area. Either way, it's the point of where the river starts from the Persian Gulf, and then it goes in, and then it splits, as I said, to four, right? So you can say, as it splits in the section right here, where Gideon River on one side, Emifrat River on one side, the Tigris River is straight ahead, and then you have the Persian River, which is going the other way. Now, and then if you go further down, in another video, another map. Let me see if I can find another map to show you guys where. Okay, so as we can see right here, so I'm gonna zoom in. As you can see, where Iraq and all the places is Kuwait, right? And this is where the Eden's supposed to be. I mean, they know the circlet right in the middle, right there, and Turkey is up here, right? Right. So Turkey's right here, but Turkey's all the way down. Where you see the color, I guess you call it like a beige color. Turkey's come all the way down here. Now, the coincidence to this is that the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Eden is on the lower end from Turkey, meeting into, following the river, right? The Tigris River, as they call it, right? All the way down to where it comes into the Persian Gulf. Now, the part that I find interesting, that the Noah's boat, that they so-called claim is also on the top of a mountain in Turkey, which is a little bit, I was just say, ironic, I would say, right? Because here we have the two main. One is the creations where the first man, first woman came to play, and then here come when the new civilization popped up. It starts basically in the same area. I wouldn't say the same area, but a couple hundred miles away from where Garden of Eden was. The ironic story to this is, what are the odds of that? From the flood, Turkey was, and seemed to be the point of where the Noah's Ark landed. Because when Noah's land, based on what they're saying, that's where they found the Ark today, right? That's people go to tourists and all these different things to see the Ark. You know what I mean? And then from there, everybody branched out and traveled back towards Africa, right? They came from Turkey all the way back down, towards the Middle East, of course, back into Africa, past Egypt, go everywhere they were supposed to go, which is most likely Ham generation. And Canaan, he had a son, his son Canaan stayed in the Middle Eastern area around between Egypt and where Jordan and Lebanon and Iraq and all those places. Also, Seth, Noah's third son, went towards Asia, right, which is like Iran, India, China, and places over there. And then Shem, which is his other son, went towards Europe, he went the opposite way from Turkey, towards like Russia and them places. But the thing is that, why do we still push the narrative that Eden was in Africa, like Ethiopia as it is now? Even if, let's say, Pangea was the boiling point to the civilization, right? And then they got split up to the tectonic plate splitting and everything. How long ago was that? Like, what was the, what I mean? Like, let's talk about the human capacity of it. That had to be millions and millions of years prior to, I would just say Moses' time. You know what I'm saying? Before Christ, right? That had to be a lot of years prior to those times, because after AKA dinosaurs, it took another million of years for the Earth to be livable again. You know what I'm saying? Then after the dinosaurs, here comes a new generation of people, aka humans again, because they say this is why I'm not going to the creation story, because it's so many things in the story that doesn't make sense, right? I'm gonna do a blog about the creation story between the Bible versus the realisticness of reality, I would say, or logicalness, right? We're gonna do a conversation on that. But going continue, what I was saying is that it doesn't make sense that we talking about that's like I said, after the dinosaurs, then for some reason humans popped up, and I'm assuming, because if humans was here when the dinosaurs before dinosaurs, then they would have to show. Okay, my thinking is that if there was dinosaurs, then there had to be humans living amongst the dinosaurs. Maybe not in the same facility or whatever the case is, but they was living. Moving forward, the dinosaurs die out. The humans, I guess a good great number of the humans die out. And let's say they went to live on the ground. But like I said, my perspective that humans was here forever, ever, whenever, ever, ever. It's just that I can't even say that too, because there would be so many evidence to show, the longevity of this human lifespan, meaning that they're gonna write stuff, they're gonna draw stuff, they're gonna be creative with a lot of things for us to know that people was here before. Just like we finding a lot of things to show that people was here before us. They're gonna do that, and they're gonna be a timeline of generation and generation showing that these people was here. Like for example, if a nation, if one nation A, was to wipe out nation B, right? Which nation B already gonna leave landmarks of things that they have done to show that they was here, right? Nation A gonna wipe out nation B, so nation B is gone. So it's now only nation A, and most likely nation A is gonna take over the society or the landmass of nation B, right? So nation B now would have, nation A now, even if the truth, and let's just say they take some of the females as well, right? Nation A now is gonna embed themselves with the women from nation B, right? And teach them new, along with the history that they know, but added to the new civilization that they're in. And that civilization is gonna keep moving forward. The continuation of the thing that's confusing about a lot of historical stories is that there's a gap between stories where continuation continues. Meaning that if once nation A got rid of nation B, which they don't kill everybody, single body, most likely they're gonna save some of the women and the children, right? The women and then not to mention they don't leave artifacts, symbolism, things to show that there was there, right? Which is, we have found some things like that. Then nation A is gonna, like I said, most likely either abandon, in some sense they would abandon that location and then take the survivors from that nation to nation A, or sometimes they would stay there and just cultivate the new landmass that they discovered. Why is it there's no continuation of historical study of those people, showing that there, there's a continuation of bloodline. Because when I'm speaking, I'm not just saying by symbolism and artifacts. I'm also talking about bloodline as well. If humans been living this long, it will be a continuation of bloodline consistently. You know, even if let's just say one group of people was wiped out, or maybe only one left, and that one person was spreading, that blood type for that one, nation or whatever, that blood type is gonna survive within the new nation that it's in, and that person should be able to basically speak on the things that they experience, and boom, 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 and they pass that on to history, they pass that on. Now, of course, back in the day, everybody couldn't, or everybody wasn't able to read and write or whatever, but they could have drawn, they could write their name, or they do symbolism things or whatever it is they does to show that and then a lot of the communication was artwork, right? So they could just do a little artwork to show that they was here. So to show where the Garden of Eden was, and then when you trace the connection of the people, it doesn't make sense. Which also trying to say that there was no such thing as Garden of Eden. You know what I'm saying? Unless there was a group of people around, BC time, right, before Christ, that developed this concept of creative, the biblical story. And let's I don't think I don't think these people are black people. That's me personally. And the reason why I'm saying is because even if let's just say he was black, let's say he was an African, right? We all should be the same, or have some connectivity of bloodline the same. Now today we're gonna say we're like 99% this DNA the same, but African people or dark-skinned people can have different shades of children, DNA-wise, right? We could have no pigment to darkest pigment, right? And they're gonna also say, based on your location, is why so and so and so and so. Okay, fine, but you have African people or so-called Eden people, right? Traveled all over the world. Let's continue from the Noah point of view, right? From the Noah point of view, they traveled all over the world, right? And because the reason I'm saying Noah is because when the flood came, it wiped out everybody besides Noah and the wives and his three sons, right? These people should have the same DNA structure as the people that was in Eden, from Canaan to Seth to whatever the daughter name was of Adam and Eve, right? I think they had more children, but I know of three. I think there's three in the book that I can pull out. That he had two sons and one daughter, as far as I know. I think they said they had many more kids after that, but anyway. So these men traveled remember, they came from the same loin of one man, right? One woman, and then they had children of their own. But the problem is that one lost this skin tone, their melanin tone, while the others maintain or, have different shades of color. And then the part that's confused, this is the part that's really confusing. This is the really confusing part. If everybody on the planet Earth, based on the biblical point, Now, not science, just biblically. Why is it white people can't have black babies? Like, what is so different from them when they all came from the same loins of the same race of people, which means they should have the same DNA. I don't want to hear, well, because there was a way so far, they adapt to a certain climate and then the DNA change of them having babies. No, DNA doesn't get don't. So this is what they're gonna say: the DNA turned off. They're gonna say, "Oh, we locked off because of the climate and all that stuff." But if you go to like China, you go to Australia, even in Miami. I mean, not Miami, uh, Hawaii. Not yeah, Hawaii is what I'm trying to say. Uh, Even South Africa, where you could go straight to the South Pole. It's close to the South Pole. You know what I'm saying? You could travel right here to the USA, or you could go to North America, South America, and go all the way up into Canada, right? Not to mention that even found people living, when it comes to Turkey, all the way up there to in the cold areas, even in Russia, even in the Russia area, right? These people depends because they have an Asiatic. A lot of these people have an Asiatic feature, right? They look like Indians or they look like native Indians. You know what I mean? I know we call India India, but to me, India and Indians is two different. Well, when I say Indians, I'm talking about like Native Americans, people with long straight hair, but they have they have like a lighter skin tone, right? Or like a yellow bone or whatever. Those are still considered dark skinned people because they have melanin. You know what I'm saying? Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, I can't get to see my chat too much, but yeah. So those, they don't have the same. They can't have children like everybody else, and I don't think science ever really break that down to say why white people can't have black children. And based on the fact that they have a different DNA makeup, but the question is how, right? Like, I'm good. I'm good. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? So I'm saying, like, how can you be? They're humans. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not humans. They are humans, but to me, there's a different breed of humans, a different race of humans, right? They're not like humans, like Asian people or Africans. Asians have different skin tone. Asians are not just typically white. You have Asians that are fairly white. You have Asians that, and the ones that are fairly white is due to, them doing skin whitening and, trying to alter their DNA and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And but when they have kids, their kids don't come out as white as they do. You know what I mean? And because in different regions in Asia, there's dark tone or light tone or even as we call them yellow, not in a disrespectful way, but in the your light skin yellow complexion, you know, tone. And then if you go to the nomads, the people who like the Asiatic people who live like in the cold climates and stuff, they have a darker tone too. You'll think that they'll be super white, but they're not. You know what I'm saying? You thought they'd be super pale. Let me use the word pale because that's the proper word, pale, but they're not. Now, what they would say is the reason why white people became pale It's because they live under the ground or they live in the mountains or whatever the case is. And that could be true. Hey, how you guys doing? Mohammed? What's up, Mohammed? Yeah, so that could be true, but it still doesn't explain why they can't have different shades of babies. Now they will say, well, white people could have like albinos, but that's a genetic situation. That's not an it's not like 100% natural birth type situation. Because what's up, man? Black people or Asian people, can have you know um, albinos as well. And I'm not gonna class Indian as like a race by itself, because even though they have a distinct feature, Indians is dark toned people. Asian people are lighter toned people, and some of them are just as dark as Indians, right? Um, and then you have the so-called natives, what that we call, uh, Indians in America, or Arawaks, right? Those are also light toned people as well, right? They can be brown, not so much as a darker skin tone, but they can be brown, a little dark brown, light skin brown to a lighter brown. You know what I'm saying? And they might have straight hair. You know what I'm saying? The issue is that when it comes to white people, they're different. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. What's up with you? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So when it comes to white people, they got typically straight hair, pointy nose, while other races we have different types of nose. Most of it is flat, but we have different types of nose, right? While white people have pointy nose, flat lips, extremely flat lips, like gorillas, monkeys. You know what I'm saying? Like chimpanzees, I mean. And I hope my volume is up. Yeah, and then they're pale. You can see the skin is like clear. You know what I mean? I mean, over the years, they have changed over time because there's a lot of mixing now. But back in the day, go back to the '60s and the '70s, white people was typically pale. You know what I'm saying? They was typically pale, and then we talk about not just blue eyes, but a lot of light color eyes texture. Then there's certain things that they say when they say they now there's a study. There's also another study saying that what do you call it, areola. I think I'm pronouncing it right. The areola, my bad. Around the males or females chest depends on the tone of the areola of the male or female. You can tell if the person is white or black, or a dark skinned person, or dark melanin person. That's a study that they have had, and it have shown that women or males with pink or a lighter color, clear as they would say. If the oral is not dark skinned, like brown, dark, or have some kind of brown shade to it, they're typically white. You know what I'm saying? That's just a scientific thing that they have put out there to kind of like identify different races. That's not my words. That's a scientific thing. Um, I can't speak on that too much because I haven't been with any white female to know that for sure. We have watched the corn stuff. If you watched corn, you could probably tell the difference in corn. But you know, yeah, Eden is not, well. It's not a real place, but like we, I'm just trying to highlight people to the ones that believe it is a real place. to kind of analyze and really pay attention if it is a place. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want him to see. Yeah, I'm just trying to highlight or basically show them that it doesn't make sense, because I'm trying to put it all together to kind of like make sense of the story. You know what I'm saying? That's really what I'm trying to do, because a lot of people think Eden is in Ethiopia, or it starts in Ethiopia, or the foot of Egypt, or somewhere between the Middle East and Egypt, right? But it's not. Based on the Bible, it says it gives you distinct locations and names of these locations to show you where it is and what exactly where it was. Now, to describe exactly where if it was closer to the ocean, or to the end of the river, or in the middle, or in the point of the four rivers, we don't really know. But it say it was on the head of the Tigris River, so it could have been just above where the river thing is, where the rivers meet, right? But like I said, it's not in Ethiopia. That I do know, right? Of it being a real place, based on the map, it's a location. But the fantasy of it is that, is it a real place based on the Bible describing it? Because Eden could have, let's just say it's a real place in the sense of, we know on the map it does show the location, and the location is a real place. So you can't say the location is not real, right? Because they do have the rivers that meet into in the rivers that the four rivers that the Bible described. I started my YouTube because basically, I just wanted to really share my thoughts with a lot of people and see if anybody can relate to how I view a lot of these things. Because I'm more into a logical point of view. And growing up, I realized that there's a lot of lies that was told to children. Like, I don't know why we lie to our children. I guess it's to kind of like not make them odd to the real world, also they don't be misunderstood in the real world, I guess. So when they go to school and hang out with their friends, they don't be like act different, so they could kind of blend in. But that becomes more like a brainwashing type thing. And the reason why, let me use the word nurture, that become a nurtured situation. And the reason why I feel like it's a bad thing to nurture people is because we live by a fake light. We live by what says versus what is. You know what I mean? And when we live by what says versus what is, we have a lot of problems like we're having right now. I think if people was to live naturally in a realistic life, realistic world, versus a fantasy world, versus how I feel type world, or I'm better than you, what you have, what you do type world, I feel we would do a lot much better, because every conversation would be more of a true feeling, of a true understanding, and if we get criticized, the criticism wouldn't be so focused on how, just being insecure, or I just feel sad about something, or this person attacking me, or anything like that. It would be more of like, I understand what you're saying, and I can make myself better, or I can do better. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't want to change your stance, you would understand that your position in life is not the realest. You know what I'm saying? And if you could live with the fact that your position in life is not the realest, then you should be then you'll be okay. Because when everybody's doing the realest, you shouldn't complain about it. You shouldn't feel like you're being attacked or they're trying to cut you out or abandon you. If that's not the case, the issue is that you're just doing the abnormal, or should I say the fantasy, and you're trying to make fantasy a reality when there's nothing comes out of fantasy to reality. Now we can have ideas, we can foresee future things. You asked me, and there's a lot of questions. But we're focusing on the let's just focus on the location and anything that ties in within the biblical understanding of Eden. Because, like I said, I'm also breaking down the people, what the people was, or who the people was, or what they was doing. You know, how they was how they could be relative to the concept of what God described as Eden and the people that was in Eden, and once they escaped or once He let them out, who they became, what they became. Does it make sense from the door? You see what I'm saying? War is man-made, man. It's like people. War is childish. I see war to be a childish thing. It's like two cheers. Like, why is a childish thing? I could refuse to go to war and see and make sense of something. I can refuse to go to war. You know what I'm saying? And just find another way how to deal with a situation. Everything is not all about killing and hurting somebody. You can always. Matter of fact, let me just say this one quick thing about when it comes to drama, beef, war, whatever. Why is it whenever a beef happen or a war happen or whatever, the main function is to just destroy the whole country versus coming to some kind of compromise to deal with the situation? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it really that bad to say you got to destroy a whole nation of people? Or people just want to be destructive? That's how I see it. When it comes to the whole war situation. But I'm not focusing on the war anyway. I'm just wanted to give my opinion on that. War is it's just childish for people to do, to me. If it's war, you gotta be something that you really have to do in terms of survival. But anyway, back to what we were saying. So, um, yeah, man, Eden is not a real. It's a real location based on the Bible description of the location, but the story, the the events that leads to these places and these locations, I don't think it's a real situation. I think it's a lie. I think it's fake. I think they made up a lot of stuff just to confuse and implement this story to make it seem like it's real, but it's not real. And I'm going down whether it's Christianity or Muslims, any story that deals with Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what really pushing a lot of these agendas these days between Muslim and Christianity. Man, they're doing the most. They're doing the most killing, or the most converting, or they're forcing people to convert. And I think that's really wrong. You know, just tell the truth. Like, this is a story about our ancestors, how they live, what they did, how they did it. A lot of it is metaphorically explained. You know, to describe certain situation or to highlight an event, but the way how they describe it is not the exact or the actual situation. It's just an idea, right? To kind of give you a vision of what was or what went. Now, the thing is in science, science say life started in Africa, South Africa specifically, due to the what you call them, the the Ubuntu people, I think they call it. I think they call them Ubuntu people. I'm not sure. I remember I think they call them Bantu or something like that. Based on those generation of people seems to be the oldest, or the based on their scientific study, they seems to be the oldest people on the planet based on bloodline DNA, in terms of survival or living, right? Going back to the oldest date they can think of. And if you really want to put that in perspective and you compare it to the Bible, you gotta kind of like, okay, so if Africa's, so let's just say the creation of Eden was before that, of course, right? Um, and then because Eden is still what it is today. I mean, let me say not Eden. Let me say where 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 the Tigris rivers and where Eden's supposed to meet at is still where it's at today. Let's call it what they call it, Basra, right? Let's call it Basra, right? So Basra is still where it's at today, because that's the new word now, right? It's still at where it's at today. If Eden, I mean, if scientists pull up the oldest people in South Africa today, and if you compare them when they left Eden and they travel out to go to expand throughout the planet, why is South Africa seems to be the last place to trace these people? It should be able to, they should be able to go deeper than that, more, because if they take blood, they're taking bloodline. Because think about it, if everybody branched out from the Middle East, right, from Kuwait, right, from but what would they call it again? Barassa, right? Basra. They talk about that, right? So they should also have a historical, matter of fact, that should be where the last or the oldest generation of people should be. You know what I mean? Not in Africa, not in South Africa. It shouldn't be over there. It should be over here between Iraq and Iran, somewhere between there, right? That's where the people should be at. That's where they should find the oldest generation of people. But that's not what science says. And if you really think about it, if the book is basically promoting this type of storyline for people to follow, because then again, it's history, right? It's not present day stuff, it's old stuff. If he's pushing this narrative, there have to be different ways to look at creation or the God concept prior to this one era. Like there's many other stories that's older than these stories. These locations that's older than, you know that's supposed to have people. I mean, shouldn't we more focus on, I guess, the dinosaur age, I guess, to find out like how, like, if people was living at that time, if they was living with them people at the time, and see how, like, they're meshed in, or how they're blending to civilization, or how we have, how we expand into the civilization that we in today. And then, like I said too, the fact that there's two different races of people, it doesn't make sense. Because after Eden, there was Noah generation. After Eden, there was no more Adam. Well, I wouldn't say there was no more Adam and Eve, but the bloodline, the bloodline ended with Noah and his wife and his three sons. Unless you're trying to say that Shem, unless they're trying to say that Shem was a white guy, Japhet, Japhet was a Chinese guy, an Asian guy, and you know, Canaan, Ham, aka Canaan, his son, was the Africans. Based on the Bible perspective, it basically surgically described the different races of people. Surgically described them. It just makes no sense to me. You really don't. Yeah, it really don't make no sense. Just by the people alone, you could tell that it doesn't make any sense. This is why I said the book is not a book for people to worship. You know what I mean? It's a book that we should view as a God, as a historical book. It's a book that we should view as a respect to give you some insight of what our history was and what happened and how it happened. Now, does it tell the whole story? No, because the Bible leaves out so many. It left out so many stories that gives a lot of details of how people functioned back in that time. It missed out so many information. It made up so many lies and so many fake stuff. A lot of it have a lot of a lot of people don't like to use the word satanic, or they use, let's say, the devil or whatever. A lot of it have, but let me put this: the God Himself did a lot of crazy stuff in this book for you to make you think like, what the hell? Why would God do this stuff? Why would He? Why would He do it? Why? Like for example, let's go. For example, I'm going to give a quick example. Garden of Eden. God made this. He made that. He made two of everything. Secondly, where all the animals gonna fit? You know how crowded that area gonna be. Now, and not to mention that there was they all had to be in their so-called land mass, because some of these animals can only survive certain places because of the food or the climate, or for them to survive, right? They can't survive. A warm animal wouldn't be able to survive in a cold area, right? Just by a certain amount of degrees, it could kill the animal. You know what I'm saying? So that would be another issue right there. That would be a big issue. You know what I'm saying? That would be a very, very concerning thing to worry about. Then let's go into the human point. He created man from mud. That's what the story says. He created man from mud in the Garden of Eden. He saw a shape of a clay male figure. I'm opposing that he saw himself as an image, because that's what he said. He saw an image of a man, as he was looking down on the earth, and he saw an image of a man, which is in himself. He saw himself in the shape of an image in the water, and he created a man from that shape of image. And in the context of that, he let man live for however long, and then he gave him a woman. So you're trying to tell me you didn't have a woman this whole time? You didn't know that man gonna need a woman the whole time? Like, how long did it take before he realized that man was alone? That he was, because Adam had to name all the animals. You know how long that could take him? I mean, was all the animals in front of him? I'm just saying, a lot of the things, a lot of the questions, a lot of the stuff just don't make a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? And then when he did make woman, He didn't make woman from clay either. He didn't float over the water and see a shape of a woman and make her. No, 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 no. That's not what he did. He made the woman from man's rib. And that's another topic too, because women keep pushing back about they want to be Christians and they want to be into the faith and belief and all that stuff. But the Bible says woman was created from a man's rib, which means it's just like a woman. It's just like parents have children, and the children have to obey their parents strongly to the day they die. What's up, mommy? You're back again, huh? And they have to basically um respect their parents to the day they die. It's just the honorable thing to do. It's the same thing that the female should do. We gonna get into that too. That's another side note. But the woman was made from man's rib. That's another part that does make sense. At that time, was God a surgeon. Not only that he was a surgeon, he took a piece of Adam ribs and genetically created a whole female from his rib. Now, the woman became, then again, that's another question too. Was started as a full blown female? What? And same thing for Adam. Did Adam start as a young little male? Did he have to grow up to become a man? Did he make the woman just into a woman? Did she have to grow up to become a woman? Then again, if Adam was made before her and Adam was a man at the time, what age was the female? Was she little? Was she big? Was she fat? Was she skinny? Like, we don't know. The Bible doesn't give those descriptions. We have to make up our own idea. It's the same concept of we have to make up our own idea. That also means that we have to have common sense to say, like, the Garden of Eden was the Garden of Eden, and the way how it was described. It was not real. It was a real place, but not a real event of a story. The event of the Adam and Eve story is not real, but the place is real. When I say the place is real, not the place named Eden, but the location is real. So these are questions I'm trying to say that people need to think. And this is just the beginning of the book. I ain't even started with the creation part yet. The creation part alone was weird. And I'm not going to go into that creation stuff. We're gonna talk about that another day. The creation part alone to that was also weird. How did Eve become a female? And then again, she had her own mind, of course. Adam had his own mind. This is Eden now. This is the perfect human and the perfect female. The thing is, this is my thing. Adam seems to be doing pretty well until he get women. Okay, women, they have a mind of their own. They don't like to pay attention to stuff. Very curious. Let's use the word curious. They're very curious. They like to touch stuff. It's like a little kid always touching something. She messed up. Why did not God just create another female? Why didn't he just create another male? A whole new Adam and Eve and just start over. He had the power to do so. Why have those two spoil? Okay, let's go with the Bible logic. Let's say God said, you know what? They eat the fruit. Now they know how to feel pain. They know how to have feelings towards each other in terms of making love or sex, or they know to get angry at each other, stuff like that. They know to have to work and sweat and all these different things, right? They know life they can die, they can feel pain when they're dying, stuff like that. So they come to reality after they eat the fruit. This is just my hypothetical, okay? So they come to reality after they eat the fruit. And God said, you know what? This now that they have the life of reality, now they have the now they understand, the truth of life, they eat the fruit of, um what was a truth, what is it again? Truth and knowledge, the tree of knowledge. We still have a chance. We still have a chance that they can live, harmoniously amongst themselves, right? Now, let's say God said, that was, we still got a chance, they didn't do nothing crazy, you know what I'm saying? They just ate of the fruit, you know what I mean? So let's see how they're gonna survive as normal human beings. Now this is in Eden, okay? No, well, this was Eden because he kicked them out of Eden now, and when he kicked them out of Eden, um, they traveled a good distance away, which is still in Turkey. They didn't go like, you know, to like the Middle East towards like, Canaan or Jordan or anything like that. Still, they went further up. I guess you call that west, I would say, right? They went further west, I think that's how you describe it, right? Um, so they went more further up in Turkey. So now they're in Turkey. God still didn't give up on them because, he said, listen, now y'all gonna live like normal people. Like y'all gonna do what normal people do, right? Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel. And God tested them by, giving them a second chance, I guess. And, depends on how Noah and Eve raised their children, they should be able to worship God and love Him and do all these good things. So He tests them to see if they've been taught to worship Him the proper way and told them to make Him an offering. One made him fruits, bring a bunch of fruits, and one brought meat. When at the time, I guess meat was supposed to be more valuable, I would say. But God is vegetarian. Okay, that's a joke. That's a joke. So he chose Abel. He chose Abel over Cain. Cain got upset, killed Abel. God punished Cain and told him to go out and live, amongst that. Basically, go out and just to live on your own. He banished him from the location from where he was living, because where he was living was still part of Eden. He just wasn't in the garden. He was on the outskirts of the garden. You know what I'm saying? So he banished him. Now, this is my question. He told him to go multiply. He told Cain to multiply the planet. He told Cain to go out and have multiple women and children, and nobody can touch you. And he gave him a seal for protection. Now, the thing is this. God already protected Adam and Eve from getting the tree of knowledge. He gave them a second chance. Then they had kids, and their kids one of the kids became a murderer. That's what he was. He was a murderer. And then he told him to go live a good life. Now, good life may be not so perfect, but he's going to have multiple wives and multiple children. And his children are going to have children. The problem I have with this story is that God is constantly feeding on, the failures of the people that he created. Like, you got the power to change it, just change it. Once Cain killed Abel, that should have been the end of the story right there. And when I say the end of the story, I'm saying the end of that line. Or he could have got rid of Cain an eye for an eye, right? And moved on. Simple. And that start, and Adam and Eve would just have to have another son or another kid and then start all over again. And hopefully that no more murders would be involved. You know what I'm saying? That to me, that would have been a better way to move than to carry the neck. Because then your one of your rules is thou should not kill, but yet they kill and you let them get away with it. And and thou should not kill me, and thou should not kill them, which also put the eye for an eye, which also means that if somebody kills somebody, you kill somebody, that person also have to be killed too. It didn't say when or how, but that person should be punished by the sentence of death. But that's not what God did, though. God told him to go live and be married, and then he just had multiple children himself. We don't even know how he had multiple children, but he did. We assume that he did. Maybe there was people who living, even when Garden of Eden was there was people living outside the Garden of Eden, and they just didn't know how to get into it, I guess, or they didn't even know about it, maybe. Now the thing is, where did Canaan go? Did he go deeper into Turkey, or he went towards the east? He went towards like Africa. From what I understand, he went towards Africa, which is it's just But anyway, that's it for today, man. I'm not gonna go too much no more on this. If you guys like the video, let me know. Give me some likes. Give me some likes. Give me some subscribes. Share the video. Tell me guys how you feel about it. I'm just want to open minds so people can think logically. The book. I'm not against the Bible in a sense of it being a storybook or a historical book or a book of some kind of guidance in terms, not in a biblical way, not in a holy, natural way, but in more of like a historical, analyzing way, right? We have to see logic in the book, not fantasy. There's fantasy from the beginning of the book. If we can't prove these things, or these things not likely to be real in our time, a humanistic time, it's not real. It can't be real. We haven't seen no, it just can't be. It's a book. It's written by some men who want to tell a story to entice people or to blow the minds of people and manipulate them into doing what they want them to do, which did work and did happen, and as we can see, it's still happening. But like I said, the book is a very interesting book. It's a very strong historical book for people to learn and understand it and see the historical things that happen so we don't repeat the same things. The book teaches so many confusion. It teaches so many manipulations, so many lies. He teaches you how to do he teaches you how to do business. He teaches you how business was running back in them times. If you read the book properly, or with an open mind, and you can see a lot of relative things that the book have taught people who really study the book, and they implement those ideas and skills in the real world today. Does that mean it's a book to you to go like look up in the sky and be like, oh my God? No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is historically our ancestors was trying to pass on the knowledge that they have in terms of historical, in terms of building, in terms of knowledge to to be better, to do better, to add to what they have done and make ourselves better. That's how I view the book. That's how I see it. With that said, peace. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me.